I couldn't believe I was calling myself a gamer before I even played a Final Fantasy.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
Yes, I've never played a Final Fantasy in my life. There's been 100 of these games and I've never played one. Well, that's not necessarily true. I did try 15 way back in the day, but it was for 5 minutes and I didn't even play any more of it. It was the biggest waste of money in my entire... No, not ever. But it was a waste of money. And this game, Final Fantasy, just as a franchise, it always seems so scary because it's so big. There's so many stories. There's so many characters. The combat's different. But once I sunk my teeth into Final Fantasy VII Remake, I understood. That's a crazy ending. When I thought of Final Fantasy before playing, I imagined long, tedious turn-based battles, Pokemon pixel-type graphics, and a guy with a really big sword. Now, the thought about the dude with the massive sword, that was spot on, but the other two things, I couldn't have been more wrong. The combat in the original Final Fantasy is turn-based, but after watching a few videos and catching up on exactly what happened back in the day, that didn't mean the combat was boring. It just made the players think more strategically and allowed them to craft the preferred combat styles in their party. However, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, the devs felt that the turn-based gameplay could deter new players. Now, for me personally, I didn't have that problem. I actually started to prefer turn-based style JRPGs as I've gotten into Persona recently, but you know, I understand why they did what they did. Turning the combat in Final Fantasy VII Remake into a more fluid type of tactical, fast-paced combat really engages a gamer that's new to the series. It took me a little bit of time to get used to, could say I'm getting a little older, but once I was comfortable with the menu and switching around with the characters, I felt this change was brilliant because this was the most straightforward way to engage somebody that's new into the story and get the player into the Final Fantasy universe as quickly as possible. If nothing else, the combat is fun, fluid, and at times pure chaos. And that's fine because it feels fun. And that's what's most important about video games, it being fun. I think the mixture really makes the game easy to consume and allows the player to focus more on progressing the story and less about the strategical thought process and turn-based combat. You know what we do? We raise her attack, and at times, turn-based games can feel like a grind. This one doesn't feel as grindy, and I preface as because at moments it does feel a little grindy. Now, I do like a good challenge, and I feel like the normal difficulty was a little too easy. I've seen some other people say that, and I do agree. I do think this is a small inconvenience, and you can look over this, and the game is perfect. Because I really think they made Final Fantasy VII Remake a game to get new players into the Final Fantasy franchise, so they didn't want to deter anybody by allowing them to do hard difficulty. They wanted normal to just be like, look, you're gonna have fun. You'll have a little bit of a challenge here and there, but nothing too crazy. And I think that is a brilliant strategy, and it worked. I mean, look, I'm a fan now. That's all I have to say. The proof is in the sauce or in the pudding. Now, another one of my hesitations with Final Fantasy in the beginning was the graphics and the art. You know, I was kind of turned off by the fact that it looked Pokemon pixel-like, that the graphics didn't really have that wow factor. And that was when my brain was a little smaller, dumber, and more monkey. And now that I've grown past that stage in my life, I realized that the Final Fantasy graphics was perfect for its time period. And now the Final Fantasy VII Remake being juiced up to the level that any of the smooth monkey brains like me needed in the past, then you have it. It's perfect. Like, this is the graphics you need. These graphics and art style is amazing. Like, I'm a noob, guys. Like, this is all I know. And I believe this is like blew my mind. It blew my mind. So if you're a diehard Final Fantasy fan watching and you're like, I don't know, man, like heard that they changed some things and they added some fluff and they made the game different than the original. But as a noob with no prior knowledge, I thought it was fantastic. I mean, this game has some of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. You just walk around and you're vibing. The intro, I mean, when you're in towns, I'm just trying to think of the other moments when you're fighting. Everything about it, the music is so good. When you just walk into a vending machine and there's a banger playing, you're like, doo. I just hear Barrett singing all the time when I do chores, like I just completed it and I feel like that. You know, this game has some great pieces and I think the art shines greatly in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It draws in new players like it draws flies to the light. You just go and you like it. Now, the last thing that really got me here was the dude with the big sword on his back.
What?
Bro!
Oh, what was that? A cry of pleasure?
Is this how you like it?
Yeah, I'm talking about the story, the epic with Cloud and his amazing party. You call them Avalanche or just his friends. This is one of my favorite stories I've ever experienced, and it's just the beginning. I can't wait for more. But without knowing anything about Final Fantasy, looking at all these games and thinking about how many hours you're gonna have to dump in, it's very scary. But I think what Final Fantasy VII Remake does is make it a little bit more consumable. It just had me in there for the whole entire 30 plus hours I played, and it's one of my favorite things about this game. And let me tell you my favorite parts. Now, what I really took away from the Final Fantasy VII story is there are a lot of characters and there's a lot of moving parts. You have this very mean guy named Sephiroth. Well, I don't know if he's mean, and he's really egging on Cloud. I feel like there's some weird relationship between the two, and I don't know anything about the future guys. You know, I'm a noob. Like I said, I haven't played Rebirth. I know nothing about this. I just know Sephiroth is like Itachi and Cloud's feeling like Sasuke. And those two don't really get along because you guys be trying to mix a lot, and he's always trying to fight him. And how can I miss Mr. Cloud? He's a little mean, but he's nice, but he's mean, and he gets all the girls, but he doesn't get all the girls. It's kind of confusing. And then we got Big Bad Barret. He kind of slowly grows on you. At first, he's very strong and like, don't talk to me, boy. And you know, he's scary as hell. So you're like, okay, but you know you're Cloud and you're built differently. You just don't know how built you are yet. So you and him kind of like are bucking a little bit. But at the end, he just ends up being like the most lovable guy. And I really had the smoke for Barret at first, but I was sobbing for my boy at the end, man. He's Barret. That's my boy. But we cannot forget about the two main girlies. Tifa, who just punches the brakes out of everybody. A 10 out of 10. I don't know how Cloud's fumbling this bag, but he is. And he's got this like backstory with her where they know each other from childhood. And then there's Aerith, who's this magical lady. I don't want to give too much about her backstory away, but she is very cool. I mean, she's got the sauce with the wizard stick. And I loved Aerith, and I thought that her and Cloud had a very unique relationship. But we cannot forget about the amazing side characters. There's Biggs, Jesse, Wedge. Now, I want to say I really like Wedge, but he just kind of is like a Labrador. And I'm not really the biggest fan of like the Labrador type character arcs. And Jesse, well, Jesse's like that like girl that just flirts with everybody. I don't know how to describe her, but she's just a flirt, man. And Cloud and her have this weird relationship, but I don't know. Jesse made me feel a little uncomfortable a few times. I was like, whoa, chill. But I think everybody you run into in Final Fantasy adds to the experience. The side characters, the ones you just talk to randomly throughout the towns, the people having conversations about God knows what. You walk up, they're talking about what pizza they're gonna have for dinner. I think it's great how the world just comes to life the moment you walk down into the bottom sector of Midgard. And you are in this giant pizza city called Midgard. I should have brought that up earlier. Yes, it's huge. And it's like almost like if New York had two New York stacked on top of each other. It's insane. And you're like in the slums, and then you see the top side. It's just huge, massive concept, and you're trying to wrap your brain around it while you're fighting for survival and trying to show that the big Corpa Shinra, I know it's a lie. The story is great. All I'm saying is play the game. It will all make sense, and it is totally worth it because I thought it would be a lot. Now, the final thing I want to say is just one little nitpick, and it has to do with the side quest. I don't hate the side quest. I just don't love all the side quests. When people are talking about fluff and a little bit of extra time padding, the game could really feel like a $60, $70 purchase. I see why. I mean, they got a little repetitive and they don't really advance the story along, but they do add context to the world, which I don't hate. I just think that the actual quest is boring. Like, I like learning about the different sectors and the people within the sectors and how the world kind of changed as you did quests and they would talk about you. And I loved how the town felt alive. I just didn't like actually doing the actual quest. They got boring. They just got boring. I guess there's only so much you can do in like a linear story. In the end, I really felt some type of way about Final Fantasy VII. It really felt like a cinematic moment with climaxes reaching to the heavens. You rise up and everything is so amazing. Adrenaline pumping through your body. It's just a great game. I'll never forget the moments I had, the character interactions that I had. This game will be seared into my mind, and I understand now why kids in middle school would walk around like these characters with the braver swords on their back. It's a special game with special characters, and I don't want to spoil anything about the ending. It's just something you need to sink your teeth into right now if you've never played a Final Fantasy. It's a great starting point. I highly suggest it to you. And guys, look, I'm a fan now. So if you're a Final Fantasy fan watching this, or if you're a soon-to-be Final Fantasy fan, let's rejoice, baby, because you got a new one here, and I cannot wait to play some more games. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, so leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's talk in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's a crazy ending. So many I knew they just gave me more questions and answered like this much. This much. Just a long list of questions now. Damn, dude, what a game though. Hold up. Dun 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 dun. I don't know why I thought that would be cool to end it like that.